Aloha! I'm Kuʻuhiapo Jeong and I'll be your host for this episode of Wailau. Mai, he nānea mai kia momoʻolelo o ke kaiāulu. Our next story is entitled Getting from Point A to Point B, Lessons from the Mother Road by Kalama Becker. Catherine is an associate professor of communication. When she was 18, she discovered her birth certificate was fake and that she was a black market adoptee. The following year, she set off on her motorcycle to find out who she was and where she belonged. Her forthcoming memoir, The Mother Road, A Black Market Baby, a Motorcycle, A Search for Real Across United States, documents her quest. To this day, she continues to explore the ways that communication intersects with who we are, the ways we relate to each other, and the natural world. While on her motorcycle trip, she rode through radioactive tailings from the Church Rock uranium mining spill on the Navajo Nation, the largest release of radioactive material in U.S. history. After returning to Buffalo, she designed her own undergraduate major in Native American Studies and Public Relations to raise awareness about Indigenous issues and the environment. While in Hawaii, pursuing a graduate degree in American Studies, she was given the name Kalama. She collaborated with Patrick Ka'anoi, the author of The Need for Hawaii, and Maori author Doya Narden, to create mana cards, the power of Hawaiian wisdom, to foster connection through Hawaiian symbols and stories.
Sometimes we're so focused on getting from point A to point B, we find ourselves on a wild goose chase. That's what happened to me. When I was 18, I found out my birth certificate was a fake and that I was a black market baby. I left the industrial, recessed, depressed hellhole of Buffalo, New York on my pumpkin orange Honda 400 and rode 9,000 miles across the United States searching for my birth mother. I'd always known I was adopted, but whenever I asked my mother about my other mother, all she would ever say is, "I'm your only mother." So out of respect for my adopted parents, I waited till I was 18 to search. Back then, New York State was a closed record state, which meant adoptees, even when they become adults, could not gain access to their records. So I joined a support group for adoptees and birth parents who were searching. When I walked into the meeting, upon giving my introduction and sharing all I knew about my history, my birth date, the name of the hospital where I was born, and the name of the lawyer who handled my adoption, the woman who was running the meeting said, "It looks like we have another black market baby." She went on to explain that the lawyer had been indicted by the Senate for baby selling and that they suspected he was part of a ring operating out of the hospital. She said that the only way that I would ever find out anything about who I was or my history would be if I could gain access to my original birth certificate, which was likely to have been shredded. I felt like I was shredded. So when I went home, I confronted my parents, demanding my original birth certificate. They denied having any such document. But the following day, when I went into the kitchen for my bowl of Lucky Charms, there it was on the kitchen table where they left it for me to find. The birth date was the same, but the name was not. Instead of saying Catherine Becker, in quotes were the words infant, followed by what must have been my original last name. But I couldn't make it out. The name had been scratched out in lines of blue ink. Lines like the ones my mother always put on my birthday cards under the words happy and birthday and love and your and mother. But when I held it up to the light, I could make out the letters K-R-O-H-M-E-R. The name was unusual. Good. That meant there'd be less of them in the phone book. But when I checked the heaving Buffalo directory, there were none. Back in the 1980s, the only search engine was on my motorcycle. So I rode it around the country, checking phone books along the way for somebody named Cromer in hopes that I'd find my natural mother. I didn't find my natural mother on that trip, but I did connect to Mother Nature and the ocean. But I longed to connect to the rest of humanity. I longed to sit in a circle of women and say, I am daughter of so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so, daughter of so-and-so, as far back as memory goes. So I decided that if I couldn't trace my lineage backwards, I'd cast it forward by having a daughter of my own. I'd raise her close to the ocean and close to Mother Nature. So I moved to Hawaii and became a mother. But motherhood often takes us places we never expected to go. By becoming a mother, I gained compassion for the challenges of both my adopted and my birth mother. But at 15, my child came out as trans and non-binary. All these years, I thought that having a daughter would weave myself back into the lay of humanity. Then this. Detour. I'm a person who pays attention to signs, whether they're by the side of the road, in the sky, or they're coming through oracles. And I needed insight. So I practiced a form of divination that involves opening a book to any page and looking at its words for a message. I took a dictionary and opened to the word line, allowing its associations to carry me. Line, a point in motion, a system of transportation, a circuit of power. A row of horizontal characters on a page, a state of control, a set of waves, a chord, a family, a calling, an action, a story, an insight, to come to correct relative position. To come to correct relative position, I held the consent form that my child asked me to sign for hormone therapy up to the light, just like I did my original birth certificate all those years ago. It glares at me, hungry for my signature. I consider the power that paper and pens have in our lives. With one swipe, an identity can be crossed out or restored. I wielded the pen in my hand like a sword, and I signed the form. If the agony of the betrayal of my adoption has taught me anything, it has taught me that we cannot make another into who we want them to be. We must acknowledge who they are. People are not destinations. We don't heal by forcing others into the shape of our gaping wounds. We heal by loving others and ourselves unconditionally. For love is not a line that goes from A to B. Love is a circle.